Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. I never imagined that one night could change everything between us. He had always been just my brother's best friend, off limits, too intense, too serious. But ever since I moved back into the house for the summer, something shifted. The air between us had grown heavier. His stares lingered longer. His voice softened when he said my name. And the way he watched me when he thought no one else was looking, it made my heart race. It all started the night I borrowed his hoodie. I didn't mean anything by it. I was cold, and it was just there, draped over the back of the chair. I slipped it on and instantly felt like I was wrapped in his warmth. But when he walked in and saw me wearing it, the way his jaw tightened and his eyes darkened, it wasn't anger. It was something else. Something I didn't fully understand yet. "Take it off," he said quietly, stepping closer. His tone was calm, but there was a heat behind it that made me freeze. My breath caught as he reached out, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. "You don't know what you're doing to me." I tried to laugh it off, but my voice betrayed me. "It's just a hoodie." "No," he said. "It's not just that." He was older, stronger, more in control than any guy I'd ever met. And he knew exactly how to push my limits. He teased, he tested, and with every look, every word, he made it harder for me to pretend I didn't want him to. That night, everything boiled over. It wasn't planned. We weren't supposed to be alone, but my brother left for the weekend, and it was just the two of us in the house. The tension had built so high that even the silence between us felt like it might snap. He didn't kiss me at first. He just looked at me, waiting for a sign, for permission, for the last bit of resistance in me to break. And when it did, he didn't hold back. What happened next? I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. The way he touched me wasn't rough, it was careful, full of emotion. But it was bold too, like he'd been holding back for years. And when he whispered my name, over and over, it felt like he wasn't just calling me, he was claiming me. I don't know what this means for us. I don't know how I'll face my brother after this. But in that moment, all I knew was that I didn't want it to stop. Because for the first time, I didn't feel like just his friend's little sister. I felt like his everything. And then, the front door opened. My heart jumped as the front door creaked open. We froze. His hand was still resting on my waist, and our faces were only inches apart. The soft glow of the lamp flickered across his face, highlighting the sharp line of his jaw as he turned toward the sound. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. I could barely breathe. "It's probably just your brother," I whispered, stepping back, trying to fix my hair and calm the heat in my cheeks. But he didn't move right away. His eyes were locked on mine like he wasn't ready to let go of the moment we'd just shared. But then the spell broke. He turned away, clearing his throat and running a hand through his hair. "You should go upstairs," he said, his voice lower, more careful now. "We can't do this. Not like this." I nodded, but my chest felt tight. I wanted to ask what he meant, why not like this, but the footsteps were closer now. A moment later, the door opened fully and there was my brother, carrying a bag of takeout like he'd just gone to grab food, not knowing what almost happened while he was gone. "Yo, I brought dinner," he said, kicking off his shoes and not noticing the tension in the room. "You guys hungry?" I forced a smile, hoping my face didn't give anything away. "Yeah, starving." The three of us sat down in the living room. He passed out boxes of food and turned on the TV, chatting like nothing was different. But I couldn't focus. Not when I could still feel his hand where it had been on me. Not when I kept catching him sneaking glances at me from across the couch, his expression unreadable. That night, I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. I kept replaying everything that happened, wondering if I'd imagined the whole thing. But I hadn't. It was real. The way he looked at me wasn't something I could forget. And the way my body reacted, it wasn't just a crush anymore. It was something deeper, something I couldn't turn off. The next morning, I found him in the kitchen alone, making coffee. He looked up when I walked in, but didn't say anything at first. just handed me a mug like he always did, like nothing had changed. But it had. "You okay?" he asked quietly, finally meeting my eyes. I nodded, even though I wasn't. I was confused, nervous, excited, and scared all at once. "About last night," he cut me off gently. "We shouldn't talk about it here. Not when he's around." I understood, but it still stung. It felt like he was trying to push it away, to pretend it didn't happen. But the way he touched my hand as I took the coffee told a different story. He lingered just a little too long. He looked at me just a little too hard. Whatever this was, it wasn't over. Not even close. I kept thinking if I just ignored it long enough, the feelings would go away. But they didn't. If anything, they got stronger. Every glance he gave me carried something unspoken, like a secret we were both trying to hide but couldn't stop feeding. Even the smallest things, him brushing past me in the hallway or handing me a plate at dinner, felt loaded now. My brother stayed clueless, cracking jokes and making plans for weekend trips, like he didn't notice the storm building right in front of him. But something else was bothering him. He started acting different around both of us. Not in a loud or obvious way, but in the way his mood shifted, how he kept checking his phone, or the way he'd go quiet in the middle of a conversation. One night, I heard him talking in the garage. His voice was low, tense. When I peeked through the cracked door, I saw him pacing, phone pressed tight to his ear. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught enough. She doesn't know yet, and I don't know how to tell her. I stepped back, heart pounding. Was he talking about me? Or was it something else entirely? I couldn't shake the feeling that I was at the center of something I didn't fully understand. The next day, he asked me if I wanted to go on a hike, just the two of us. That was rare. Normally, we always did things as a group. I said yes, even though my stomach twisted with nerves. We left early, climbing the trail behind the house that led up to the overlook. The view was stunning, but I barely noticed it. I was too focused on how quiet he was. Too focused on the way he kept looking at me like he was waiting for me to confess something. So, he finally said, resting on a flat rock, "Anything you want to tell me?" I froze. "About what?" "I don't know," he said casually, but his eyes stayed locked on mine. "You've been different lately." He's been different too. Just wondering what's going on. I shook my head quickly. "Nothing. I mean, I've just had a lot on my mind." He gave a small laugh like he didn't believe me, but wasn't going to push it. "Yeah, me too." Later that night, after dinner, I found him outside, standing in the backyard near the fence line. The sun had just set, and the soft light made his face look older, more serious. He turned when he heard me, and something passed between us, something unspoken but strong. "I think your brother knows," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He didn't flinch. He just nodded slowly. "I know. So, what do we do now?" He stepped closer, brushing his fingers lightly over my wrist. "We be careful. And we stop letting other people decide what this is." But just as he leaned in, a sharp voice cut through the air from the house. "My brother." "Hey, where'd you guys go?" We both froze the second we heard my brother's voice. It wasn't just the timing, it was the sharpness in his tone. He wasn't just calling out casually. He knew something. I stepped back quickly, putting space between us like that would erase the moment he'd just walked in on. But the way his eyes scanned the backyard when we turned toward the house, it was obvious. He didn't need to see everything. He'd seen enough. "I was just getting some air," I said, my voice higher than normal, too fast, too rehearsed. My brother didn't say anything right away. His eyes went from me to him, then back to me. The silence felt like it lasted forever. He finally nodded slowly. "Right. Well, come inside." Inside, the air felt thicker. He didn't look at either of us during dinner, barely touched his food. The tension was heavy, sitting in the room like a fourth person at the table. Every clink of a fork felt like a warning. My heart wouldn't slow down, and I knew his wasn't either. Across the table, I caught his eyes once, and in them I saw guilt and something else. Fear? Regret? Or maybe just the realization that we'd crossed a line we couldn't uncross. After dinner, my brother disappeared into his room without saying a word. I sat on the couch, staring at the TV, but not watching anything. Every noise from down the hall made my nerves jump. Then came the text. Come outside. We need to talk. I slipped out the front quietly, finding him at the end of the driveway, leaning against his car. He didn't look at me right away, just kept his eyes on the sky like he was trying to find answers up there. I think he knows everything, I whispered. He nodded. Yeah, he's not stupid. So what now? I asked, voice shaky. He finally turned to me. I don't want to lie anymore, but I don't want to lose him either. That was the part that hurt the most. Because no matter how strong this connection between us was, there was always going to be him. My brother. His best friend. The reason we met in the first place. The person who had trusted us both. I keep thinking we should stop, I admitted. That maybe it'd be easier if we just ended it now. His jaw clenched. But do you want to? I looked at him, at the way his face held so much conflict, and I knew the answer was no. But saying it felt dangerous. Like it would make everything real in a way we couldn't take back. Before I could answer, we heard footsteps behind us. Not rushed, but deliberate. Turning around slowly, we saw him standing just a few feet away. Hands in his hoodie pocket, no expression on his face. Mind telling me what's really going on here? None of us spoke at first. The quiet was so thick I could hear my own breathing. My brother's face was unreadable, no anger, no shock, just this eerie calm that made everything feel worse. I tried to open my mouth, to explain, to say something that might fix it, but no words came out. He looked straight at him. How long? The question wasn't loud, but it landed like a punch. He shifted uncomfortably, then finally answered, a few weeks. I felt my brother's gaze turn to me, and this time I couldn't look away. So it's true. I nodded slowly. Yeah, it's true. His jaw tightened, but he didn't explode like I expected. He just laughed once, dry and short. Unbelievable. He started to walk away, but then turned back. I trusted you. You were supposed to have her back, not cross the line. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, he said quickly. I didn't plan it. You didn't stop it either, my brother shot back. And you, he turned to me, you didn't even tell me. I had to find out like this. I took a shaky breath. I didn't want to hurt you. Well, congratulations, he said. You both did. The silence returned. Then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, my brother dropped something I never saw coming. I already knew, he said. I saw the texts last week. I blinked. What? He looked straight at me. Yeah, you left your phone on the kitchen counter. It lit up. I saw his name and what he wrote. My stomach sank. Then why didn't you say anything? I asked, my voice barely holding together. Because I wanted to see how far it would go, he said. I wanted to believe I was wrong. He turned back to him. You were supposed to be like family. And instead, you sneak around with my sister like it means nothing. It doesn't mean nothing, he said firmly. I love her. Everything stopped in that moment. My breath caught. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would echo. Even my brother froze. You love her? He repeated, his voice shaking now, not with anger, but something else. Something deeper. I do, he said again, softer this time, looking at me. And then my brother laughed again, this time with something bitter underneath it. You really picked the worst time to say that. What does that mean? I asked. He looked at both of us, eyes full of something I couldn't name. Because I'm not the only one you've been lying to. The silence between us shattered as I took a step forward. What do you mean we're not the only ones? My brother's expression twisted, not with anger now, but with something more complicated, grief, maybe. You think this is just about some secret romance? You think that's all I've been carrying? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It looked worn, like it had been opened and closed 100 times. He handed it to me without saying a word. My hands shook as I unfolded it. It was a printed email from a woman's name I didn't recognize. The subject line hit me like a wave. About your dad. My breath caught. What is this? He didn't answer right away. You weren't supposed to know. I found it after Mom left her laptop open last month. That's why I've been acting weird. That's why I didn't say anything about you too. I had bigger things to figure out. I kept reading. The email talked about another family. Another daughter. My dad had been living a double life for years. A woman out of state claiming her teenage daughter was his. And there were photos attached, ones I didn't dare open now. I looked up at him. So you've been carrying this alone? He nodded. And while I was trying to hold our family together, you two were sneaking around behind my back. Tears stung the corners of my eyes. I didn't know what to say. Everything I thought was the biggest problem in my world, this forbidden love, suddenly felt smaller compared to what he'd just revealed. But then he looked at me, softer this time. I don't hate you, he said. Either of you. I just needed the truth. He turned to him. You say you love her? Prove it. Be honest. Be real. No more hiding. I will, he said without hesitation. I've wanted to be with her the right way since the beginning. And I believed him. In all the chaos, all the mistakes, his feelings were the only thing that felt steady. Just as I was about to speak, my phone buzzed. A new message. From my mom. One line that made my stomach drop. We need to talk. It's about your father. Please don't tell your brother yet. I read it twice before locking the screen. My voice shook as I looked at them both. There's more. Their faces turned toward me, the driveway still and quiet again, but this time, it was me holding the secret. Whatever storm we thought we'd just survived was only the beginning. The air was so still you could hear the night humming. I looked at both of them, heart racing, phone still gripped in my hand. I hadn't told my brother about the message from Mom yet, but I knew I couldn't keep holding onto secrets. That was what started all this in the first place. I just got a message from Mom, I said softly, eyes on my brother. She wants to talk about Dad too. She told me not to tell you, but I can't do that. You deserve to know everything. He didn't say anything right away. Just looked down at the ground, like he was trying to stay upright in a world that kept shifting under his feet. Finally, he let out a slow breath and nodded. We'll deal with it together. No more surprises. That moment, quiet but strong, felt like something healing. The three of us had been through lies, tension, and heartbreak, but in that stillness, there was finally honesty. A little broken, a little raw, but real. We went inside, and for the first time in weeks, sat together without pretending. My brother didn't try to stop me from being with him anymore. He didn't suddenly approve or smile like everything was fine, but he understood. That was enough. Later that week, Mom sat us both down and told the truth. Everything about Dad. The other woman. The other child. Turns out, she had known for a while. She just didn't know how to protect us from it. The whole house felt heavier after that, but quieter too, like we didn't have to pretend anymore. As for us, we didn't rush anything. We didn't run away or make big dramatic moves. We just started showing up for each other in the open. No sneaking around, no hiding. It felt different now, like we had earned this peace after everything that had happened. My brother still needed time, and I gave it to him. We all did. Sometimes he'd crack a joke and pretend things were back to normal. Sometimes he'd go quiet when we walked into the room together. But I knew it would get better. Healing doesn't happen overnight, but it happens. Looking back, none of it went how I imagined. The romance, the drama, the truth about our family. But somehow, in all the mess, we found something honest. Something we could build on. That's what mattered in the end. If you've watched this far, I want to know what you think. Did you expect that twist? What would you have done in her shoes or his? Would you forgive your sibling? Or someone you trusted? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. And if you want more stories like this, ones that are messy, real, and full of heart, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next chapter. Who knows? Maybe there's still more to the story than we thought.